Thanks, McKinley, for getting us started. I can see slides and just making sure everybody else can here. I don't know if we can get a thumbs up from somebody here. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again for our team calling in from all over the place, as well as researchers that are on the call. We're so glad that you're able to join us for this research office open house. For those that are joining us by watching this recording afterwards, again, welcome here and hope you find this resource helpful and invite you to reach out to our team to learn more about the services and supports. So we have about an hour together, but the aim is to try and set some things up for us at the outset, introduce some of our services and our supports, different areas of our office that you can connect with, and then hopefully open up for questions and discussion, whether that's live questions here with members that are present today, or again, as I said, afterwards, viewing the recording, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to connect with you. As always, we want to set out our time together by doing some location and some course setting. So at the outset here, I want to respectfully acknowledge that we live and work on the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples, the Inuit, First Nations, and Métis of Canada. And here at AU, we honor the ancestry, heritage, and gifts of the Indigenous peoples and give thanks to them. I'm calling in from just outside of Calgary, in Treaty 7 territory, which is the ancestral and traditional home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda. So wherever you are calling from here, welcome today and welcome you to acknowledge those spaces as well. We have a full agenda, but again, we are committed to try to keep it focused to allow for discussion in the last stretch of this hour together. So where we'll be steering here is in a few directions. First off, I want to do a very high-level overview of research at AU. We'll try to blast through about 50 years of history in one slide and 3 bullet points, as well as give you a sense of what our research portfolio and profile looks like if you're new to AU in terms of our research priority areas and our strategic plan, as well as our funding portfolio. But most importantly, the third item here is where we'll spend the most time. We have an amazing team here representing the call in our research office, and want to invite them throughout this session to introduce themselves and give a brief overview of just some of the strategic areas that they can support our researchers in their research design or delivery of projects. And hopefully this set at the end a time for discussion, and even better than that, follow-up. If you did want to have a follow-up conversation with any of our colleagues here in research, then you know who to contact and get a hold of them afterwards via email. So that's the plan for the hour ahead. So why don't we'll skip ahead and get into where we've been in research at AU and where we're heading. My own area of research is in ancient cultural history. So I like to say to friends and family, I just love old junk, particularly old ancient documents. So I'm always interested in looking into kind of archives and understanding backstory of where we've been as organizations. A few waypoints for AU and even a sample kind of vintage AU artifact here, if you will, about the beginning of our story as a university. Athabasca University was established in the province of Alberta in 1970 as a degree-granting institution. So that's really the start of our story. But if you comb into our bibliographic record of where and when we started publishing, the earliest I've been able to find anything like this in terms of our research output is in 1973 with an article published by Joseph Meeker, and the title is Onward to Yesterday. So an interesting kind of title to be thinking about where we've been and where we're going already in research. But you can see from those dates, 1970, we kind of plant this flag to start university, and then within a few years, we already have some research and some ideas and some publications coming out of the academic communities here at AU. Now, if you fast forward a few decades, arguably the next big waypoint for us at Athabasca is in 2008 when we were designated a CARU, a Comprehensive Academic and Research University. That's a provincial designation from the government of Alberta that sits us alongside the University of Calgary, University of Alberta, and University of Lethbridge. And those 4 universities together are looked to as having a special mandate for thought leadership, innovation, and impact in research in the province. So at AU, we have a real, not only an expectation and obligation to do research, but we can own that in a very unique way given that status. So what types of things do we research here? That's kind of a bit of our backstory. Any research university in Canada needs a compass to kind of navigate where and when they'll be researching certain topics. The reality is we have a diversity of research disciplines, approaches, and researchers across Athabasca University. But our compass is our strategic research plan, where we try and understand, of the many things we do well, what are the avenues we travel in most, and where can we have strategic output and impact? You can find this in online in our document on our Research Center website. Our strategic research plan is from 2018 to 2022. So we are currently doing some revision and engaging around that in the coming months. So you can watch out for a new redesigned plan in 2023. The key themes in our current plan are four, and you can see them here. First, environmental and societal dynamics of sustainability. We have a lot of researchers that research in areas related to exploring the complex dynamics of ecological, economical, community, societal impacts of sustainability from multiple angles. Disruptive pedagogies. You'll also see this cutting across all areas of our, all four faculties rather of the university. As you know, we are an open and online university, and ambitiously so. So we have a lot of researchers that spend most of their research time understanding how to lead in creating and evolving digital first pedagogy and online instruction. That's where a lot of that research kind of hangs under this category. The third item, society, culture, health, and well-being. Here again, you're probably sensing a trend. These themes really thread themselves throughout our different faculties, and this includes everything from ancient studies to studies with Indigenous communities, to studies in health and business, to understand what it means to live well as an individual, as a community, as a society. And the final item is digital futures. We're not only interested in kind of looking back and understanding where we've come from and who we are today, but how is it that things like digital technologies, emerging economies, and these types of things will shape the future, and how can we have a role in speaking into how to do that responsibly, to doing that well. There's a lot more in that strategic research plan, but those are the four areas that we have currently on the books that help us set that course. So that's a little bit about where we've been, a little bit about what we're doing, but a key component of all of that is actually related to also our research grant enterprise. The reality is, to do research, you need resources. And one of the key ways that we're able to do to enable researchers to do that type of work is by helping them seek and secure external grants. We report on these also regularly as something of a pulse check to know how we're doing and where our researchers are at and where we could grow and do better. What you can see here is that type of high-level flyover, looking back at last year in our annual report to see where we've been successful and where we want to do better. On the whole, we're actually performing quite well. And the exciting thing about growing our research community with new faculty members is we can help bring them into this space and build a successful strategy for them in seeking and securing those grants. Our overall research funding last year was about $3.5 million. But arguably, the pieces that I'm most proud of here are our success rates. We want to be applying as often and as early as possible, but we also want to be increasingly more successful. And a lot of the services and supports of the team we have here in the research office, in some way or another, in the pre-award or post-award or ethics world, are building into that space to help you have a strategic application, but ideally also a successful one. I will also say, as an academic myself, we don't celebrate or promote our failures. I have failed, and I do fail on more applications than you put forward. But on the whole, if as a university we're active and we're ambitious, then collectively we will tip that scale and succeed more often than not. So there's just a bit of a high-level overview of our research portfolio, but just to really underscore that the important pieces here are strategic aims, that we're advancing towards them, and we're seeing grants as not just something we can do, but something we should do as a way of building our research ecosystem and a way of you resourcing your work in research here at Athabasca University. In terms of these services, and this is where I'll kind of shift out of my intro here and into some more specific introductions from our team in a minute. Our research office has two kind of tandem but very closely related units within it. Our role in the research office, or RO, you'll hear us refer to sometimes, is we provide that central and supporting strategic services to all of the faculties. We have researchers across all faculties, and we're meant to be that hub and spoke. We have a network of associate deans research that we work very closely with in every one of the faculties. But in terms of any of the strategic supports for research design that you'll hear about in a minute, or research supports for administration, our office is happy to be involved in all of that across all four faculties. So I'll hand it over to Rebecca, my colleague here in a second, just to give a bit of a bit closer lens on what that looks like and who's involved in each of these two areas.
Great, thanks, Andy. Well, hello, everyone. My name's Rebecca Hart. I manage our research services, and under the leadership of the Associate Vice President Research, I oversee the day-to-day activities of the Research Services Office, or RSO. Our mandate is to serve as a resource and provide seamless and consistent support to researchers throughout the research project lifecycle. So as my teammates will outline in today's presentation, and as Andy had mentioned, we serve as a resource and provide administrative support to all faculty for the submission of research funding applications through to their delivery as funded research projects. And so this includes pre and post-award guidance, as well as support for the submission of internal and external research grants, establishing research accounts, providing financial information and advice, undertaking research grant contract reviews or negotiations, as well as assisting with research events coordination, application management within the AU Research Portal, research policy interpretation, and of course, research ethics. So we have a number of individuals in the RSO, and you can see them here on the screen. You can also reach out to them through their emails as outlined on our Research Center website. Thanks again.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. So you can see here we've got a close-knit group of team members on both sides in that RSO and RDO. The individuals on this screen here, and again, will kind of introduce themselves and give a bit of a high-level overview of their portfolio in a moment. All those areas that Rebecca described are essential and foundational for delivering any successful research program at AU. So I'm very keen to see that group thriving well. We've also built on top of that firm foundation with a growing group in the RDO, the Research Development Office. This group is meant to be a partner in your research design. Simply, we try to think of it as you need support in anything from ideation to impact. So you've got a concept that could be a research component, all the way through planning to how you get that idea out into the real world. You'll see in a minute that different aspects of this portfolio are meant to come alongside or partner with you in kind of co-creating some of that. So I hope that gives a sense from kind of the high level 50,000 foot view of research at AU, what we do best, where we invest in terms of our research strategy, our grant portfolio, and a bit of a lens on now the kind of structure of our research office. For the next part of our presentation, happy to pass it along to other teammates to kind of work through their portfolios and give some very brief examples of what they do and how they could support you on the way forward. So I'll turn it over to you, Paul. I think you're next.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm Paul Daniels. I'm the manager of digital research initiatives here in the research office. And I wanted to just give a quick overview of Idea Lab. So Idea Lab is a signature digital virtual research domain for AU. And what we've done is partnered with Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Ronin to create an environment through which our faculty researchers can explore this new space and take their research to the next level. So by engaging with Idea Lab, we can enable training to upskill researchers and learners in how to use cloud-based tools for research purposes. An asset of AWS is that they have over, I think now, 130 different tools available. And through Idea Lab, we're enabling researchers to use those. There can be a learning curve here, and we're well placed to support researchers as they break into this new area. And Ronin ties into that. So Ronin is a web application designed specifically for researchers to lower that barrier of entry, to make it easier for them to start utilizing these kinds of tools for research purposes. Now, AWS and cloud-based research comes with a host of advantages: secure, flexibility, durability, cost effectiveness, and all these tie in to support research and enable you to create compelling grant applications to leverage your success through this space to take your program further. We, within the RDO side of the research office, provide our Idea Lab participants with a range of services, but we also offer specifically designed RA support. So we recruit and train research assistants and so that they'll be able to help you do what you want to do through this space. This can all be a little abstract, and that's a very quick overview. So I thought I'd touch on one success story. So from our inaugural cohort of researchers that engaged in Idea Lab, Angela Workman-Stark, I think, can help ground the mechanics of how this works. So she's worked with the RCMP for a while, and in 2013, they conducted a survey to assess perspectives within their workplace on discrimination and harassment. One of the outcomes of this survey was thousands of text-based responses as the respondents provided stories about how they were affected in the workplace. Since then, these responses have been largely sitting idle because the volume of data here to analyze has been otherwise time and cost prohibitive. But by using AWS services like TextTract to analyze text, translate responses from French to English, and machine learning powered tools like Comprehend, Angela and her team have been able to analyze these responses and start to dive into how this can further advance Angela's research profile, but also the work that the RCMP wants to do as well. So hopefully that makes sense as a quick overview. Happy to answer questions about Idea Lab as we move along. I'll turn it now over to McKinley, who will talk about knowledge mobilization, I believe.
I will indeed talk about knowledge mobilization. Thank you, Paul. I just got a bunch of things happening on my screen, so making sure you can still see the slides and me now on the screen as well. I think that looks good. So yeah, nice to see everyone here today. Thank you for joining us. I have met a few of you already, but those who don't yet know me, my name is McKinley Darlington, and my pronouns are her, she, and they. I'm the Knowledge Mobilization Specialist here at AU, and I'm situated within the Research Development Office side of the house. Perhaps a good place to start is with a bit of a definition, or rather understanding of what we mean by knowledge mobilization. I tend to use knowledge mobilization as a bit of an umbrella term to describe a wide range of activities related to the production and use of knowledge generated throughout the research process. But what it really boils down to is that knowledge mobilization helps make research useful to society by supporting engaged scholarship from inception to impact. I would love to take credit for coming up with this definition, but really I've borrowed it from Research Impact Canada, or RIC. RIC is a pan-Canadian network of 22 post-secondary and adjacent members and is a national leader in the practice of creating social value and impact from research and knowledge. Athabasca became a member of RIC this past year, and I help manage the relationship with the folks and the other member institutions who are part of the Research Impact Canada network. There is another sort of strategic relationship that I help manage that I'll highlight here today, and that's with the Conversation Canada. The Conversation provides independent fact-based news, analysis, and expert opinion from the academic and research community that is delivered directly to the public. So we, as an institution, are in our second year of membership with the Conversation, and we've already had 5 articles published in 2022 with a global read count of over 44,000. So now, instead of walking you through each of the knowledge mobilization supports available to researchers, which you can find under my name on the research website contacts page, I thought I'd provide an example of what knowledge mobilization support can look like in action. So I started supporting the Cognitive Bias in Nursing project a couple of months back, and as of yesterday afternoon, the primary knowledge product from this project went live. I will pop a link into the chat here so you can take a look at that, but you'll also get a copy of these slides down the road. We'll have a link in it as well. So congratulations to Dr. Lorraine Thirsk and team for the publication of this knowledge product. I first connected with Dr. Thirsk to do some impact planning for an internal grant application she was preparing that had a goal to turn a scoping review into an accessible resource for nurses, regardless of career stage, so student all the way to sort of seasoned clinician. One of my suggestions was to establish an advisory group to help guide the creation of the knowledge product, which in this case was an open educational resource in video format. Dr. Thirsk very successfully incorporated our conversations into an APDF knowledge mobilization application and was off and running, executing her plans from there. So I did provide some advice along the way and pointed Dr. Thurston, our wonderful RA Julia, towards a handful of resources to help ensure successful engagement with the advisory group, so that capacity building service offering. I also provided feedback on the video scripts and the draft version of the resource, so knowledge mobilization advising here. So although this was the first time Dr. Thirsk had done this type of knowledge mobilization, you never would have known it. Conversations during yesterday's launch event were overwhelmingly positive, and those in attendance provided lots of ideas and connections for extending the reach and potential impact of this knowledge mobilization work. So I think I'm going to pause there because I could talk forever, but I'm going to turn it over to Kelvin to talk a little bit about research partnerships now.
All right. Good morning, and thank you, McKinley. I'm Calvin Cole, and I'm the Research Partnerships Broker. This new job title reflects the evolution in my role from industry partnerships to partnerships of all sorts. So my aim is to support researchers find and develop partnerships within AU and external to AU. Also supporting researchers who have developed their own partnership but need some administrative support, with regard to research agreements or any other type of agreements that may go around that type of partnership. Typically, when we think about partners, it has been, our mind goes to just for-profit companies. However, now most partnership grant opportunities accept not-for-profit, government and community organization as acceptable partners, especially for leveraging rules. Although partnerships are not all about cash, but it's important. They can also provide access to people and resources and networks that can help facilitate the whole research program. Finding a partner is often an involved and daunting process, and does require time and a number of discussions to develop a relationship to the point where it can be involved in a research program and be collaborative and mutually beneficial to everyone. This means thinking about partnerships early in the design process and the conception of the project, and can often involve the partner as part of the project design stage, so that the benefit to both parties or all parties within the project can be realized. Again, like everyone else, sometimes partnerships come in all forms and can be structured in a lot of different ways. And as an example of one of the types of partnerships that has proven to be quite beneficial within our organization is Sean Lewenz's program with Canadian Natural Resources. That project was to develop genetic biosensors to detect pollutants in oil sands, polluted water. Together we helped negotiate a research agreement for 5 years of funding, and we were able to take some of that money and leverage it through my tax to fund a postdoc position, as well as some of that money went to funding a master's student to do the work and advance their own programs. Again, the results were quite positive, and it enabled us to file a provisional patent application to protect those research results. And in recent discussions with CNRL, who were quite pleased with the way the project has been going, we're partnering, considering next steps and follow-on funding. So if you have any questions about partnerships, please feel free to reach out and we can discuss them. And so now I'll pass the mic on to Stacy.
Awesome, thanks, Kelvin. My name is Stacy Levitt, and my role as Research Grants Development Coordinator is to, in partnership with my colleague Jill Callio, provide pre-award grant facilitation support for researchers interested in seeking external funding opportunities. One of the ways we can do this is to meet with you one-on-one to discuss your individual research program so that we can best assist you in targeting external funding agencies that might be a good fit for your work. From there, we can help you devise a short and long-term funding plan and advise on best points of entry into a particular funding landscape. Another way we can support your grant development is to help polish your application by providing criteria and editorial reviews containing formative feedback aimed at enhancing your proposed projects. We can also assist in this process with the development of proposal budgets and budget justifications, including advising on expense eligibility. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jill to talk some more a bit about the other services we offer. You're muted, Jill.
Thanks, Stacey. My name is Jillian Callio, and I'm the Research Administrator for External Grants here in the Research Office, and I work closely with Stacey on external grant submissions. In addition to the services Stacey just mentioned, the Research Office coordinates internal peer review and grant mentorship for your external grant application. The internal peer review process provides you with an opportunity to gather feedback from your peers from within and outside of your own faculty on a close to final draft of your research proposal. The Grant Mentorship Program provides you with an opportunity to work with our grant mentors who are external to AU, are familiar with the funding agency's initiatives, and can give your grant application a final spit and polish, so to speak. All research funding applications must be submitted through the AU Research Portal to receive institutional approval. This includes applications you're leading, as well as applications in which you are a co-applicant or a co-PI. If you're unfamiliar with our research portal, please do reach out to me to schedule a training session. Once institutional approval is granted, we can assist with funder portal submissions and/or signature requirements. Submission processes differ from funder to funder and sometimes program to program, and we can assist with navigating those different situations. Please reach out to Stacey or I for external grant application support, as we're available to assist you from concept to submission. To promote the research culture here at AU, the Research Office supports interactive workshops, webinars, forums, conferences, and symposiums that showcase the work of our researchers. For example, we've provided information sessions and consultations on incorporating EDI principles into tri-agency grant applications. And just a friendly reminder that our recordings of all our past presentations are available on the AU Research SharePoint site.
So additionally, Jill and I collaboratively develop outreach and training opportunities for new and established researchers who might be looking to improve their grant writing skills. So we offer both program-specific supports as well as more general events that might apply across the tri-agencies. A bit of a shameless plug here, we have recently developed a new suite of offerings specific to the SSHRC Insight Grant Program to be offered over the coming summer, which includes an interactive writing intensive in July. So stay tuned for more information from our offices on that shortly.
And lastly, I thought I would mention our research newsletter. Our bi-weekly newsletter provides information about upcoming events and funding opportunities, as well as updates on and current call-outs for the conversation, as McKinley had mentioned previously. And we celebrate the impact our researchers are making globally through our newsletter. So if you have something research related to share with the AU community, or if you're not receiving our newsletter, please reach out to me to get that item on our radar. So thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Alice Tullier to talk about the internal research funding opportunities.
Thank you, Jill and Stacey. So hello, everyone. My name is Alice Tullier, and I am the Research Administrator for Internal Awards. I am also the Committee Secretary for various AU committees that provide internal funding to support research, dissemination, and publication activities for faculty, staff, and graduate students. Specifically, the internal funding opportunities include the Academic Research Fund, the Associate Vice President Research Special Research Opportunities, academic and professional development, research and study leave, travel and relocation, graduate student research, and access to data management analysis software. I look forward to connecting with you to answer any questions regarding these internal funding opportunities application deadlines, and questions you may have about the online application process, which includes using the AU Research Portal. Thank you for your time, and now I pass the microphone over to my colleague, Crystal Padlewski.
Hi, so I am Crystal Padlewski, and I am a financial administrator in the Research Center. There are two financial administrator positions, and the other position is held by Leona Fox, who is also present today for any questions. We provide administrative support to researchers who have secured internal and external funding. We want to be your one-stop shop during your funded grant lifecycle and be your liaison with other service centers that you will be using for administering your funding, such as human resources and finance. We are available for all questions and to help you through processes such as hiring personnel, completing expense claims, paying various expenses, or initiating the purchase of goods and services and contracts, and also the financial reporting to your funders. Please make us your first point of contact to help prevent delays in processing, as we are here to help manage the financial component of your research grant. Along with helping you navigate the relevant AU policies and procedures, we also navigate the external sponsor policies. One that we refer to quite often is the Tri-Agency Guide on Financial Administration, also known as TAGFA. We encourage researchers to read this document, as it is a basis for how many grants are administered. The links to the relevant research policies and procedures can be found on the Research Center website, and we encourage you to review them. We also encourage you to become familiar with the financial policies and procedures that can be found on the finance website. To reach us, please do not hesitate to contact us at research@athabascau.ca. And I believe I'm passing now the microphone on to Gail.
Yes, thanks, Crystal. Good afternoon. My name is Gail Light, and I am the Research Ethics Officer at Athabasca University. I'm responsible for managing research ethics review processes, monitoring compliance with policy and procedures in the area of human participant research, animal use in research, and research in remote locations, which we entitle field research. I also facilitate the review of requests for institutional access for permission for research purposes. So what can I offer you? Well, I'm happy to offer advice and guidance related to the ethical considerations in your project and your research, and I can assist you in completing the applications for ethical approval within the research portal. Hopefully I can also help you navigate that research portal if you experience issues. I can direct you to, with respect to applying for approval from AU Animal Care Committee through the University of Alberta online system for any animal use in research as well. I also follow up with applicants regarding ongoing reporting requirements arising from REB approval decisions. The ethics section of the research website has a wealth of information and resources to assist you, guide you. There are instructions documents, templates for use, and resources to help you ensure that you have considered your project fully from all ethical foundational principles, and also information on the use of animals in research, which is a unique process here at Athabasca University. Getting ethical approval may not be the only approval necessary to begin or conduct your research here at Athabasca University. If you are planning on recruiting participants from amongst AU staff or students, or if you need assistance from AU resources such as informational documents, etc., you will also need AU institutional permission to access resources for research. This permission is granted and reviewed by the Associate Vice President of Research, and it's a process that I facilitate for you once your ethical approval is granted. So it's seamless for you and doesn't require you to do anything, but I will work that process through for you. Lastly, I just wanted to touch quickly on field research. So research projects that are conducted in remote and solitary areas or places must take into account all necessary occupational health and safety considerations, etc. And so we have a process for researchers who will be spending time in such remote locations to complete and submit a field activities plan. That plan is completed and submitted to myself and to our occupational health and safety officer for review prior to engaging in those activities. If you have any questions, again, information is available on the research website. And for any of the above, absolutely give me a shout and I'm happy to answer questions. I think that's it. And I must confess, I'm not sure who I'm passing the mic to, but I believe it's Rebecca.
Thanks, Gail. Yeah, so just to continue on a little bit about the Research Services Office, and I think I mentioned all of these items earlier in my spiel. Perhaps I should have waited until now, but they're presented here again in this slide. And I just wanted to thank all my teammates for sharing a little bit about each of your respective Research Development Office roles and RSO roles. This concludes today's Research Office information session. And so I would like to thank the faculty members and all others who have joined us here today who are interested in learning a little bit about research and joining us for the overview of the services that our research office provides to facilitate and promote the research activities of the AU community. As referenced earlier, please do consider us your one-stop shop for all your research-related needs. If we can be of assistance with any of the above administrative functions we've shared with you today, please do not hesitate to contact us. And as mentioned earlier, our contact information is on the Research Center website. So we do look forward to hearing from you and certainly encourage you to reach out to us. We will now open the floor to questions.